Hey guys, Metric Motorcycle Madness here. Today we're going to show you how to change your oil and filter on a Suzuki Savage 2000 650. 2000 being the year, 650 being the engine size. Very simple. So you have obviously your drain plug, which sits down here in the left side of the engine. Just behind your foot peg. That's going to be a 14 millimeter. Now, it sits fairly close to the frame, so unless you have a really small socket wrench, you're probably going to have a 14 millimeter wrench to get in there. I wouldn't recommend an adjustable because these are very easy to strip out. So don't use a cheap adjustable like this. Use a solid wrench. Try to always, when you're taking drain plugs out, use wrenches that are not like this. If you're going to use the back end of them, they're much easier to strip out. Use the ones that have less teeth. So basically, get your oil pan. If you don't have an oil pan for some reason, all you can do is you can just take some water containers, water jugs, cut them down to the length, get a couple of them, because there is a substantial amount of oil in there. But we're going to use a drain pan. I'm just showing you that you can use these. So you'll get your drain pan underneath, you'll take the bolt out, you'll drain your oil like that. You'll come up here. Ugh. There. Your cap is right here to check your oil or to take your oil out. That's where you're going to fill your oil from, on the right side. Unscrew that. Put your funnel in and add your oil. This is going to be 10W40 that it recommends to use. So if you want to use that, you can use that. If not, use maybe something else recommended for a different kind of performance. Alright, so part two, this is getting the filter out after we've taken the oil out and we've drained it. That's the end, a little bit of the end, and that's the rest of it that came out. It's you can't really see well, but it's a dark brown. It still needs to be changed. It's not black, but it could be changed. Since we're here, we have to pull it out anyway. We're not going to put anything like that back in the bike. You don't want to do that. So we've drained the oil plug is out. We used a standard wrench, 14 millimeter, just like this. If you can fit it, try to use this end because you're less likely to strip it out than using this. You may need a hammer, like a rubber hammer or a plastic hammer, just to give it one nice tap on the wrench, because you got to have a quick turn to bolts like that. They're usually very tight, and you want to do that so you don't tug on it and strip it out. So we've taken off right here on the right side cover our cap for the oil filter. There's 3 hex bolts, which you can use probably a standard wrench. Well, not standard, but a standard type of hex wrench. You might not need a socket. I believe this is probably a 5 millimeter, somewhere around that. That one's not marked. Be very careful when you take this out. You want to get some paper towels down and something else to hold oil. You can see it drip down the side. So you get your 3 bolts. Careful when you take it out. Remember, there's a spring here that puts spring tension on the filter, and you've also got an oil seal around here. So when you're replacing the filter, if you can, and don't use anything corrosive for this, but just try to clean off the seal and any of the grime and grit that's sitting around the edge of it, so you got a nice seal when it goes back in. And of course, you want to make sure you clean the oil off of the side of the bike. You don't want too much of that sitting on your engine, and you're just gonna get grease and dirt sticking to your engine real good. So make sure you clean that up nice. We'll do that later, but then all you have to do is pull your filter. Here's your filter. This filter's definitely got some dirt in it. Needs to be changed. There's a right side to this and a left side, or up and down. This side is going to go up into your engine, obviously, to fit the seal. The other side is where your spring tensioner is going to go. So you're going to buy one of those to replace it. And people look at these and they're kind of, I know people who don't work on their bikes much but like to change their own oil. They're kind of afraid of these for whatever reason because the filter's not on the outside. Honestly, this is probably easier to pull a filter than to do it you would on the underneath side of other bikes. It really isn't that bad. And again, in here you got some old oil. Try to soak that up and get that out of there. See all that dirt that's sitting in the bottom there that came out of the filter? You don't want to leave that in there. Bad, bad, bad. And if you want to, even you could take some marble mystery oil on a paper towel and just wipe it around there. Keep in mind you also got a seal here. Inspect that, make sure it's not torn or worn, otherwise you'd need to replace that. Don't use any wire brushes on anything here, but you can here also scrub this down either with some marble mystery oil or some other kind of cleaner alongside that. But don't use anything alcohol based if you're getting near the seals, because that will eat at your seals. And basically all you got to do is stick the filter back in, and put your side cover back on, bolt it down, put your drain plug back in, of course, take your cap off, and then put your 10W40 in. I don't have right now how much oil this needs to take, but I'll look it up and I will put it in the description. Alright, thanks guys. Alright, so we've got the old filter here. What we want to do is take the new filter and put the new filter in. Find it here in the bag. I'd recommend using K&N, but you can use any brand you want. This is not K&N. This is just, I don't know. It's a filter. So we've got two ends. We've got the end that's going to go into the bike, and we've got the end that the spring's going to sit on. We've wiped out all the old oil, cleaned the port out. We've checked the O-ring, make sure the O-ring's fine. We've got our new filter. Gonna place our new filter in, and when you do this, make sure it's gonna sit and stay right in the middle on that O-ring. Get set off to the side and tighten it down. That's not good. Obviously, I can't do this as I'm holding the camera. But then your spring here is going to sit right around onto here. This is going to pick up, bolt back on. Remember to use your... Yeah, I mean, for this part, I would say that it's easier to use one of these on a socket as opposed to just a hand wrench. Make sure your seal here is also good. If you want to put just a tad bit of oil around on this ring to seal it, that would be a wise decision. So you bolt that back on. Obviously our drain plug was already tightened back up since we drained the oil. You're going to go to here. You're going to loosen that. I'm going to get a funnel. And we're going to put in our 10W40 oil. Now, whether you want to run the standard or synthetic motorcycle oil, that is up to you. We're just going to run standard right now because we're still playing with a whole lot of other stuff with this bike. It's rather low mileage. You should be using... Well, I shouldn't... It should matter varying on the bike. right down here on your left, you have your glass cut out to see your oil amount, your oil level. There's two markings, I guess. Yeah, on the right next to the glass in the metal here. Your optimum oil level should be between the two, I believe. With most bikes, even with the filter change, unless the engine was taking apart, I mean the oil capacity is 2.5 quarts, or I think that's like 2.7 liters or something like that. You don't want to put that full amount in generally because remember, your engine's been running. Even if you run it for a little bit, which you also should, when you do the oil change, you should run it for a while. Shut your bike off, let it cool down a little bit, and then open your drain plug up when you drain it, because hot oil or warm oil will come out of the engine much easier than oil that's cold and thick and sludgy. But regardless, as it comes out like it is, they say you should use probably a little over 2 quarts, because there's still always going to be excess oil that's sitting in the engine, even if you've tipped it on its side, drained it out of here. So you don't want to overfill it. So I would try 2 to 2.1 quarts and see what your oil level is. You may even need less if you're not going to replace the filter. You may only need like 1.8 quarts if you're not going to replace the filter. I don't know why you wouldn't replace the filter every oil change. I hear people don't do that. Do it every other time or whatever. That's great, but this is only like, another 2 minutes and like $5-6 for a fresh filter. So your filter doesn't look like this compared to this. So, I don't know, it's up to you, but I would replace it every time you do your oil change. And, yeah, so that's pretty much how to change your oil, put everything back together. Alright, thanks guys.